Am I wrong for refusing to change my kid's name despite it sounding like a slur to my mother-in-law? This started a few weeks ago, but I'd never used Reddit before and wasn't sure how to do one of these. For context, I'm mixed race, white and Middle Eastern from my mom. My mom had been Hebrew but changed denominations after moving to America and meeting my dad. My husband and his mom is African American. I, 32 female, have recently had my first baby. I'd given up on love when I met John, 40 male, a year next week. What started as a one-night stand, then following encounters, turned into a shotgun wedding, but we weren't upset about this. John hadn't had many girlfriends before, and he claims he was happy to settle down. I had much the same feelings. We got married in August, and I met his mother 2 days before our courthouse wedding yard party. She was, honestly, one of the most amazing people I'd ever met. I never had a mother of my own, really, and she was everything I'd ever wanted. She planned my baby shower, surprised me with a birthday party, and so much more during the pregnancy. I went into labor a week early, in mid-March. She and the rest of his family stayed away and let us update to them on our time. My beautiful baby girl was born on March 19th at 2:19 a.m. This is where the issue starts. That same day around lunch, we let John's mom and stepdad come visit. We'd had several names picked out, some of which mother-in-law helped me choose. However, I looked into my daughter's eyes and knew her name. Context: my mom's name was Nessa. She had been a wonderful lady I'd never been able to meet. So I chose Nissa instead, said like Nissa. My mother-in-law said nothing at first. She took photos, hugged my husband, was going on about how pretty our daughter was, but never said anything to me. I'd not noticed at the time, I'd been exhausted and out of it, and they'd left soon after. My husband said something to his mom about it after they left over text, and my mother-in-law went off about the dirty, slur-like name I chose, and said I was disrespectful and racist for not asking her first. What? My husband waited until we were home to tell me about this and asked if this was a hill we were willing to die on. I was shocked. He loved the name when I brought it up. He says his mom is right and it's 2 letters off from being the exact word. Only, it's not the word. He slept on the couch. I hoped over the last few weeks she would get over it along with him. He eventually conceded it was a dumb request and stood his ground to his mom. She came over the next day while he was at work and told me either I change it or she'd tell my husband our baby isn't his. I ended up crying and she left, but I texted my husband and her in a group chat after and told them there's no way in hell I'm renaming my 3-week baby, and told my husband what she said. Of course, she denied it. It started another fight with my husband, and he hasn't slept in the bed for a week now. He keeps telling me I'm being overly sensitive over a name and that I'd never even knew my mom, so it doesn't matter. So am I wrong for refusing to rename my baby because my mother-in-law thinks it sounds like a slur? Is it? Is it worth fighting for a name when I can just pick another because she's not even that old? I feel backed into a corner and starting to feel like my husband is right and to give in to his mom. He keeps telling me he thinks the name is wonderful and beautiful, but not worth the drama. Maybe this is how moms are? Edit 1. It felt strange to me to name my baby Nessa because I did not know my mother. I wanted to honor her still. Nissa was a name they considered for me before meeting me and making their decision. I chose it because I thought it was beautiful and a great way to honor her. Edit 2. Since so many people asked, and I don't want anyone to be confused, I guess. Mom was Jewish. I've seen a lot of Jewish hate and was nervous about publicizing that. Her family converted to Judaism at some point, maybe, possibly, according to my father. And eventually she became a Christian because that's what my father was when they married. Also, thank you everyone who makes respectful comment. Thank you to the people who respectfully told me a different perspective. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of love I've received. I finally had enough, and my husband slept in the bed last night. He told me he really liked the name, but his mom wasn't going to let it go. So I decided to have his mom and co for dinner tomorrow night. We'll see how that goes. Update. A lot happened at dinner, and I've been feeling really down since then. I've waited to see if there'd be anything else to update you guys on as well, but so far it's been quiet, at least for the past week. So I did invite my mother-in-law and father-in-law over for dinner. It did not go well. It was tense from the start. I tried to calmly explain why I chose my daughter's name and what it means to me. I also asked her directly why she felt so strongly about it and tried to understand where she was coming from, but she didn't really give me a clear answer. She kept spouting something about how I'd made her son into a bad father, IDK, where this came from, and doubling down on some of the other stuff she already said. She even questioned my daughter's paternity again. At first, my husband was kind of agreeing with her, or at least not really pushing back, which made things worse. But then she said something really derogatory toward me, plus the bad parent thing and paternity issue, and that's when things changed. My husband finally stepped in and told her she was out of line. After that, we asked them to leave early. They refused, and it turned into a huge fight. It escalated to the point where we had to call the cops. It somehow got even worse from there. She started yelling at the officers about how they should be dealing with me for terrorism, and she even assaulted one of them. They ended up taking her in, which led to a fight between me and John about how she wasn't going to take up any of her threats, even though he was the one who told me to call the cops. And he left. My father-in-law returned the next morning and offered to watch Nissa for me while I went and talked to John. He'd been nothing but neutral the entire time, and had even been helping me the night before to get my mother-in-law out. We ended up sitting down and talking, and he said he was going to divorce mother-in-law because she'd always been racially insensitive to his experiences and downright crazy to his adult children. And now there was no denying her ugliness with my situation, and he wished for me to tell John to suck it and divorce him too, or to at least tell him to grow the hell up and smell the fresh air. He would never grow up with my mother-in-law as involved as she was. Y'all, my father-in-law told me, until he and mother-in-law married, my husband slept in her bed. He was literally 29. He told me a lot more disturbing things I don't want to repeat. I ended up telling father-in-law I wasn't prepared to talk to my husband. He had said a lot of ugly things the night before, and I asked father-in-law to tell John he could pick up some clothes, but he'd have to stay with them or find a motel. The last I heard, father-in-law went to stay at a hotel. Mother-in-law was bailed out by John, and John and mother-in-law have been staying at their house. I've never felt so alone. The only thing I'm sure about is my baby girl's name, Nissa Rose, and probably my last name. Sorry it took so long to post. What do you guys think? Let's discuss in the comments. Follow and like for more stories.